Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast for our first of our divisional round game previews. And this game is the Bills against the Ravens. I'm, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis. And with me, first of all, in the purple corner, we've got third and longs, Shane Harris, and Ravens fan. Shane, how are you?
Not too bad, Andy. Not too bad. How's things?
Yeah, all good, all good. Looking forward to this game more than the rest. I think personally, I've said it all year long. It's going to be either, I think personally, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen winning the AFC this year. So for me personally, I think both teams beat the Chiefs, and I think for me, this is basically for me the AFC Championship game. I think whoever wins this game will beat the Chiefs, and I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be excellent. The two best quarterbacks this season. You've got two great running backs. In my favourite, obviously Derrick Henry. You've got James Cook. It's just going to be a fascinating game, and I'm so excited for it. But in the blue corner, we have from Bills from afar, we have Bills fan Charlie Nelson. Charlie, how are things?
Great, yeah. Just looking forward to Sunday now. It's like counting down the hours. A little bit like Christmas, isn't it? But with a bit of a risk attached to it if it all comes crashing down. So no, very excited. The Bills are playing some great football at the moment. It's fun to watch, and obviously coming up against a really great team. And I feel like this is like one of the most anticipated divisional round games for a very long time.
It is, and I think we've said it. I think it's this sort of thinking around NFL fans in recent years that the division round is actually more exciting than the Super Bowl and the title games. I think that you think about how good these games are, and you sort of the wild card round, you still do have the games where you've got 7 seeds for a reason. You've got a lot of one-sided affairs, like we saw this weekend just gone. I think get to the divisional round, all the bad teams are out. You've got all the good teams left, and I think it just makes for some amazing. Actually, think about the Chiefs comeback against Texans in the 2019 season. You think about Derrick Henry's stiff arm against the Ravens back then for the Titans. You think about that infamous 2021 season where you had all 4 games go down to a last-second field goal, or at least late on in the game. You think about the Bills-Chiefs game. You think about the Bengals against the Titans, Packers 9-red. All the games are just exceptional. So I think it is for me the best time of year for NFL fans anyway, and I think you get what should be 4 great games. You can't beat that, and I think this game for me is the best. And it starts with the quarterback battle and running back battle for that matter. When you got Lamar Jackson against Josh Allen, you've got James Cook against Derrick Henry. It's just, I think, offense-wise, you've got the top 2 offenses in the entire league. It just makes for such an exciting prospect. But Charlie, for you first as a Bills fan, how are you feeling about this game? Because the Bills are, a team that has repeatedly missed out and come close and lost in this round. You think about the Bengals a couple of years ago, the Chiefs a few times last season, and a few years before that. The history of the 4 Super Bowl losses. It just seems like the more every year goes on, the more pressure there is for this Bills team to go out and win something. So how are you feeling ahead of this game? How are the nerves?
Yeah, the nerves are okay at the moment. I mean, obviously the Bills lost to the Ravens quite badly earlier in the season. I think I think a lot of people are attaching quite a lot to that. But the reality is, if you look at the Bills defense of that day, it was missing 2 starting linebackers and our starting, Pro Bowl nickelback, who essentially plays as a linebacker. And then we had our first choice safety also go out in Taylor Rapp with concussion partway through. So the Bills defense was decimated. That said, we've always struggled to stop Derrick Henry, and Lamar is Lamar. So I think we go in with a lot of respect and deference for this Baltimore team. I think it's a tremendous team with strength all over the place. That said, the Bills have also been playing some incredible football, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And any team with Josh Allen in it is going to have a chance. But the big story for me is the Bills' offensive line. It's been slightly adjusted this year and really come into its own. And there's a reason why the Bills have been able to do what they've been able to do, especially in the running game with this offense. And that's this fantastic offensive line. They got really mobile tackles. They've got people who can, in the middle, who can move defensive bodies and tackles around. And to me, this is all about the offensive line. It's like, can the Bills' offensive line do that to the Ravens? It's obviously a top-tier defense, but we just played one of the best defenses in the league in the Broncos and decimated them. So it's really an interesting game. I actually think it's going to come down to a shootout. I think it's going to come down to who can get that pick, who can get that turnover. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring, and I think both offenses are probably going to dominate both defenses, and it's just going to be a toss of the coin. I could see it going either way, but yeah, fascinating game, exciting. That's what we're here for, right?
That's right.
As a neutral, as a fan, I can imagine it's so nerve-wracking. But as a neutral, I mean, everyone probably knows where my head lies in this game. But I think as for a neutral, this is just excellent. I think all 4 games are great. But I think this one for me stands out as the game, and I think it's got the Sunday Night Football stop for a reason. And yeah, it's going to be so good. But you mentioned then about the defenses. I mean, it comes to, I think, when it comes to the sort of the passing game, when it comes to both the Ravens and Bills defenses, neither are that great. I mean, Ravens got the second worst pass defense in the league this year, and the Bills are in the bottom 10. So, it's the kind of game where you would expect, especially with how good both offenses have been, to just be real. You've seen the Bills a few times, or the Lions a few times, have these 40-point score games against I think it was Bills against the Rams and the Bills against the Lions. So the Bills have been in this game before where, they do score. They basically let in 40 but score more than that. I think, it should be a way for Bills fans. I think the defense has let up a lot of points this year, but equally, look at that offense and how good it's been, sort of, making that not a factor. I think it's going to be interesting to see basically which team. Both teams have struggled in the secondary. Both teams have struggled when it comes to stopping the pass. And I think it's going to be basically me who has the ball last. That famous old saying, who has the ball last. I think it's going to be literally score.
I think it could come down to game strips. Whoever gets ahead early might then dictate it, because the Bills have shown at times that they can really run it down the team's necks, and as have the Ravens, right? And if you can control the clock, then you can keep the other offensive off the field, and then you can start wearing the defense down. So I actually think that the first couple of quarters are going to play a massive role in how this game plays out, because I think if the Ravens get 7-10 points ahead, the pressure is going to be on the Bills, and they're going to be forced to throw it, and it's going to have to be a shootout. And I think that the reverse is also true. The Bills have always struggled against Henry, even when he was at the Titans. He's just a unique player, right? And not many people can go head to head with him, no matter who you've got in your linebackers. But I think if the Bills, the best chance of the Bills winning is to get ahead early and try and dictate this game script and force the Ravens to be a bit more one-dimensional, so they can use Henry a little bit less.
Yeah, I've always been sort of that thinking of, I would always choose, if I was a coach, to have the ball first, second half. And I think in a game normally you like to know what you got to do when the second half starts. I think sometimes you can start a bit tentatively. If you have the ball first, go for 3 points, that's it. But if you're 10 points behind at half time and you're on 4th down at the 50-yard line, you could go for it. And I think in this game, I think you're bang on right. I think you want to sort of establish that sort of momentum early. You want to put the pressure on early, and I think if you can sort of go out first drive, score touchdown within 3 or 4 minutes, I think that would really send a message out to the other team and give your team a real boost. So I think that's certainly what I think both teams should be looking at doing, is getting the ball first. But Shane, now on the Ravens side of things, I mean, it's comfortable win against the Steelers. It was pretty like the Bills against the Broncos. Both games were pretty one-sided. And, it was, once again, a Derrick Henry show. But Lamar Jackson, has answered his critics in some way. But I think this is the round where, like the Bills, they have to really answer these credentials and these critics of, who say he can't win a big game and he can't play off Lamar. It's different to regular season Lamar. All that kind of stuff attached. But how are you feeling ahead of this game? Because, you made the AFC Championship game last year. You want to try and make it again this year. How are you feeling about it?
This is the biggest matchup in the NFL, in my opinion, regardless of how well the Chiefs are playing. This is the Tyson and Austin. This is the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier type thing. This is United Liverpool. This is the biggest rivalry, well, probably in terms of teams in the NFL. It's going to be a fantastic game because, as Charlie mentioned, the Bills are a fantastic offense. Any team with Josh Allen on it has a chance. I think our defense has sort of woke up a little bit down the stretch. I think Kyle Hamilton they've moved him around the field a little bit, and he's been brilliant. It's only his 3rd or 4th year, but he's been fantastic. We did beat the Bills 35-10 in week 4, which, in all honesty, I was surprised at that scoreline because I think, as I've said, the Bills are a really, really good team. They were missing a few key players as well on defense. But in all honesty, I think this is where we get off. I think this is where our season ends. I think the Super Bowl is going to be between the Lions and the Bills.
Interesting, because you think about sort of teams hitting form at the right time. You think about, on the opposite side of the coin, you think about the Steelers having 10 wins to start the year. I think they were 10-3, and they sort of had a whimper towards the end of the year. You think about even the Steelers a few years before that, when they were 11-0 in 2020, still lost in the first round of the playoffs, lost their last 5 or 6 games. Cardinals did a similar thing the year after that, and the Ravens have sort of, you were 0-2, and you think about the Rams were 1-4. Look how good they look now. The Ravens were 0-2, and they only won by 3 points against the Cowboys. Almost let that lead slip, but since then, they did let up 38 points in Week 5 against the Bengals, and 34 again in Week 10 against the Bengals. But since then, only 16 against the Steelers, only 18 against the Steelers in a loss. 23 against the Chargers. They gave up 19 against the Eagles. Then it was 14 against the Giants, 17 against the Steelers, 2 against the Texans, and 10 against the Browns. So this defense has sort of improved as the season's gone on. And I think you won in total in the last 5-6 weeks. You won all but one of the games. I think you won 5 out of the last 6 games. It's so I think for the Ravens, I think for me, what I love is now they've got that other threat, because for years it was just Lamar. He was always doing it himself, particularly in the run game. And you think about the Chiefs game last year, about how that was sort of the talking point was how little they ran, and that was all they went out and addressed that and got the best running back I've seen these last 5-10 years or so in Derrick Henry, and really fixed their biggest weakness when it comes to offense. And now I think when you got that, I think they would have learned from the lessons last year in that Chiefs game. I think the Texans game, they were obviously really good in that game, but I think the Texans didn't really show up properly. But I think you look about that Chiefs game, they would have probably thought about that all off season. And with that in mind, against the Chiefs the following week, you'd think, unless the Texans pull out a shocker and win that game, and that'll be on their minds. I think particularly that lack of run game. I think that's why they probably went out and got Henry. So I think in this game, you think about, I mentioned before about the poor passing game. The top 10 worst pass defenses in the league when it comes to the Bills. But when it comes to the run game as well, you think about the Bills. I mean, they're currently are in the top 10 or top 15. So that's going to be something I think, even if Henry has an off day, I think you look at the weapons he has around him. Mark Andrews has, again, talking about improving as the season goes on, he's looked really good in the last few weeks. I think he's going to be a really key part. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice, Jane. I think you guys are better than you think. I mean, I've had you guys winning the Super Bowl the entire season. I do think it's Lamar Jackson's year. So for me, I do have you winning this game. A little spoiler there. I'm not going to state what scoreline yet. But, I do feel like it's such a good game, and I think that to me is the key. But Charlie, back to you. I mean, you're looking at this Ravens team, and does that give you confidence? What I said then about the fact that you have been one of the best run defenses this season. Does that give you confidence, even though you have struggled in recent years? That is in the past. Do you think this year, with how much better you've been in the run game, stopping it?
It's a great question. Yeah, I think the Bills have been. If you look at the statistics, pretty solid in the run game. What the Bills have been guilty, though, is giving up explosive plays. And Henry can deliver explosive plays, as can Lamar. So sometimes when you look at the total numbers, it doesn't look that bad. But, they've also given up, 40 yards for a touchdown here and there. So I think it's difficult. However, the Bills are very healthy. Everybody on the defense will be their first choice defensive starters. That was not the case earlier in the season. But honestly, good offense beats good defense. And I think that this comes down to who settles most quickly in the game. I think that's why I think it's going to be a shootout no matter who's on the defensive side of the ball. It could be who gets that pick, as I said, who gets that turnover. And the Bills have been really good at taking the ball away. And I think if the Bills can get ahead, force the game strip a little bit, and then put a bit of pressure on Lamar, then maybe that opens up opportunities for a turnover. The last time the Bills played the Ravens in the playoffs, actually, that's how the game was won with Taron Johnson and a pick six. So I think the defensive side is definitely better for sure. But I think that sometimes if Lamar and Derrick Henry are on their game, it doesn't really matter who you've got on that side of the ball. That twin threat is incredible. And also, I know we're up against each other, but these are two fantastic players to watch, even as a Bills fan. And I'm sure, Shane, you probably feel the same about watching, Josh Allen. These are the guys you want to watch in the sport, right? This could be the Super Bowl. We're in different.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, it really could. But I think that the Bills have had success, against the Ravens in terms of putting points on the board, in terms of the Rams, in terms of the Detroit Lions, in terms of the Broncos in the wild card. The Bills can score 40 points, and I think it's going to come down to a shootout, and I don't think the defenses are going to have an awful lot to say about it. I just think it's going to be put the most points on the board as quickly as they can.
Now, Shane, I mean, you think about everyone's going to focus on Lamar Jackson. They're going to focus on Derrick Henry. You can even argue, they'll focus on Mark Andrews. But do you think someone like, it's the injury for Zay Flowers is massive, but if he's healthy for this game, do you think he can be sort of the key to this game? Because the Bills, have been pretty good when it comes have been pretty bad stopping the run, but I think at the same time, they're going to be focusing on Lamar Jackson and Henry a lot. Do you think someone like Zay Flowers, if he's healthy, he could be on unlimited snap count, he could be on unlimited sort of snaps and receptions, but do you think someone like him could be almost the key to the game? Because I mentioned before about, the Bills, the Ravens want to avenge what happens to them against the Chiefs. Zay Flowers knows that more than anyone else. He knows what happened to him in the big moments, and he'll want to make amends for that. Do you think someone like him, if they do, if the first read is gone for Mark Andrews and goes to Zay Flowers, do you think he could be the key to this game?
As you probably know from our show, Ollie Hope takes great pleasure in telling me, he's a running back with regards to Lamar Jackson. So I think he's broken that narrative now with his passing game has come on a lot in the last few seasons. He is and that'll be a big idea because he's ours, right? He's the ultimate dual threat quarterback. There's nobody in this league that does it better than he does. I don't personally think. I mean, don't get me wrong, Josh Allen has wheels on him. We've seen what he's capable of. He can scramble with the best of them. But as I said, I think Lamar Jackson is the ultimate dual-threat quarterback. And you mentioned Zay Flowers coming back in as well. I love Zay. What a fantastic draft choice he was 2 years ago. I love the bloke. I was there in London for his first touchdown as a Raven. That's a memory that will never be taken from me. And yeah, I think he'll definitely improve the offense, obviously. But I'll tell you one thing. There's somebody on the offense that has really stepped up his game this season, and he's a bit of an unsung hero, Rashad Bateman. He scored 6 touchdowns in his last 9 games, and he's been brilliant. And I mean, also with credit to Isaiah Likely as well, where they got that 2 tight end set which they can use. As you said about me sort of not giving us enough credit, don't get me wrong, I'm fully behind this team, and I fully know what they're capable of, but also I've seen us beat ourselves too many times. And against a team like the Bills, you make 1 or 2 mistakes, that's your lot.
Shane, what role do you think that the game being played in Orchard Park plays? You watch them every week. In the intimidating atmospheres, which, Orchard Park will be on Sunday, does that affect this team at all, or do you feel like that they can cope with that?
In all honesty, I've seen what the Bills Mafia are like. They're not what you would call normal fans. I love the fact that they check each other. Yeah, of course, I'd be too. I love the fact that they check each other through tables, being a big wrestling fan. So yeah, I got a lot of time for that. And the weather's different as well because Buffalo is notoriously cold, especially in January. But I think like it will make a difference. Due to the fact that it's obviously an away game for the Ravens, and M&T Bank, the atmosphere there is so much different to any other place in the league. Home is home. But I think it may make a difference. But I don't know if it'll make a game-changing difference, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Certain teams struggle, playing on the road. I mean, the Bills are unbeaten this season at home. It's going to be cold, far colder than Lamar and Derrick Henry played in. Sometimes that affects teams, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, Bills Mafia will be absolutely up for this. I can guarantee that. But, the Ravens get ahead by 2 scores, then that tends to deflate any stadium. So, it's going to be interesting to see what... I think on a neutral venue, the Ravens probably win this. At home, I'm just not sure.
It's very, like you've said, it's very much a toss-up game. Yeah, I tell you who doesn't like the cold in Buffalo. Tua Tagovailoa.
Very true. Very true.
Dolphins podcast.
we can both weigh in on that one. Yeah,
100%.
Well, I think it'd be a clean sweep. I'd be probably just thinking the same as you guys, to be honest. But no, I brought you guys on to have a break from the Dolphins and the pain of being a Dolphins fan missing out on the playoffs, and you guys have just.
I always take a shot. You know that.
You're welcome to it anytime you like, Andy. It's not a struggle.
I look at you guys with such jealousy. The fact that we didn't. We could have taken Lamar Jackson in 2018. We stuck with Ryan Tannehill. We could have taken Derrick Henry one year. We could have, I think obviously we wouldn't have been high enough to get Josh Allen, but I think for a division rival with that good of a quarterback, when your quarterback isn't bad, but he isn't the quarterback that some think he is, it is frustrating because I've never seen us win a playoff game. I've never ever in my 14 years ever seen us win a playoff game, and as is well known actually now, I've never seen us win a game in person in a 7 attempt. So yeah,
that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
As a man that watched 4 Super Bowl losses, I feel some pain.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you sort of paid your dues. You had that pain. I missed the Dan Marino, Don Shula glory days sort of era. I missed the 72. I was minus 20 at that point. So
you're too young.
Yeah. Right, before we go on to our predictions, now I want to ask you, with NFL fans, we have different stories. Where are you watching the games on Sunday? So Shane, first of all, for you, where will you be watching the game on Sunday?
Well, I was going to buy an OTV pass. It's 15 quid and it only works for 24 hours. So I found that there's doing an offer on DAZN at the minute, which I took advantage of last weekend for the playoffs. They're showing every single playoff game and the Super Bowl for 20 quid. So I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So I'm watching it with a good friend of mine, my good buddy Drew, who's only sort of dipping his toes into the NFL. So believe me, he's a Ravens fan because I'll make him a Ravens fan. And so yeah, he's interested as well. We've said if we do get to the big dance, we'll probably go out in Bristol and watch it somewhere. But if not, we'll just watch it in the house, I imagine.
Fair play. And whilst I'm there, I looked at Day Pass on Now TV. You can actually, I get a month pass for 28.
Oh, that's all right.
So I think anyone who wants to get a day pass, don't bother on Now TV. If you want to just watch NFL, then do what Shane does, get his own game pass there. But if you like all sports, you can get it's only £13 more than a day pass, and you can use it every day.
Yeah, you can watch either team you like as well, then, can't you?
What's that? Sorry.
You can watch either team as well that you like, can't you?
Oh yeah, of course. I January 5th, but no, it wasn't a great day that. But Charlie, for you, where are you watching the game on Sunday?
It'll be my second home, which is the Fitzrovia Bell on Tottenham Court Road in London. That's the home of London Bills backers.
Wow.
For anyone interested, there was
that
an
is
article.
A good segue. I was going to mention this article.
Yeah.
I haven't got the Athletic subscriptions. I couldn't actually read it properly. But tell us more about this article that's been done.
Yeah, so on Sunday, the Athletic came to interview London Bills backers. We now get between 120 and 140 Bills fans, Bills Mafia watching every Sunday, which is incredible. We started off about 4 years ago with sort of between 10 and 15 people turning up, and now it's built a real momentum. So yeah, now we're up to 120, 140 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we already have the place booked out for Sunday night, which for a game that's going to finish at 3 a.m. is insane. So yeah, it's an incredible place. There's an article, as you mentioned, Andy, in the Athletic today. If anybody's got a subscription, I'd recommend you be able to hear the story of how the London Bills backers came to pass. And I think it's now the biggest, regular organized NFL meetup outside of North America or something. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, so I'm a VP of that group. I'm really proud of what we built. We've had Sky TV down. We've had Hollywood actors turn up. We've had former players turn up. It's really something special. So I can't wait to get there. I booked a hotel in London so I can stumble there at 3 a.m.
Stumble on.
Yeah. And slightly delayed work start on Monday.
Well, if anyone who is listening to this podcast who is a Bills fan is heard this and go, that sounds really good, tell them how they can find more about how they can be part of the London Bills backers.
Yeah, so take a look at London Bills backers. You can find us online. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram. There's details to register for games. So maybe next season when people want to come down, it's gonna be pretty much full this week. You can register there. We ask people to register so we know how much bar staff to put on because usually Sundays in Central London are quite quiet. But yeah, to be honest, these days it's always full, and it's a fantastic atmosphere, great community of people. You get a real mix of people who are Brits, who live in the UK like me and have been Bills fans for many years, you get people from all over the world who are passing through London who want to watch games with other Bills fans, and of course you get Western New Yorkers, some of which who live in London or the London area, or some of you just passing through on holidays. So it's a really nice community. Everybody chats with everybody. It's kind of got I would say, a friendly American bar vibe, but with a soccer atmosphere. So we sing and we shout, and it gets pretty rowdy. We even occasionally welcome the odd opponent fan. So again, if you read the article, you'll see the one single Broncos fan that turned up on Sunday and how he had a miserable
one single Broncos fan.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's a great place to watch. Yeah, wonderful place to watch, and really proud of what we managed to build, and I'm sure other NFL teams will follow suit.
Maybe I'll go there next season in my Jalen Waddle jersey. And,
well, Andy, you are an honorary member of Bills Mafia. Let's remind everybody. You have partied hard with us in the past. Let's face it.
I have. I've partied with you in Detroit at tailgate. Buffalo Bills against Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving.
You've been to Buffalo and hung out there with Bills Mafia, so you know what it's all about.
Now predictions. Now, Shane, you did give us a little insight into who you think's going to win, but what's your score prediction going to be?
Okay, right. As I said, I think they'll beat us because I don't want to get too overconfident, and with me, I tend to be more of a pessimist. Because anything other than what I think is going to happen is a bonus. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We win. Happy days. 21-14 Bills.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going for a Ravens win, and I think it will be a thriller, and I think it will be 38-34 in favour of Baltimore Ravens. Charlie, we got one for Bills, one for the Ravens. Are you backing a team, or are you, like Shane, cautious?
I'm certainly cautious, and I think if I wouldn't be putting my money on the Bills to win this game. It just, as Shane said, it's a toss up, really. I mean, the line, I think that the Ravens are 1.5 point favourites. Feels about right. They were, I think, Bills were 1.5 point favourites. That's shifted a little bit, and I think that reflects the bettings, right? I think there's a lot of backing for this Ravens team, and rightly so. But interestingly, the points total is 51.5, which I think is too low. I think I'm going to go 31-30 Bills in an absolute nail bite.
If we weren't bored already watching this game, we'd be bored after Sunday.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, as a neutral, I've still got my hair. There's not much stress involved. I expect to lose every week, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to worry about.
As bad as it is, never seen us win a playoff game. At least I haven't got to worry about a nail-biting AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, I would love that. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, there's only positive. I'm not seeing a team do very well. It's that. But yeah, that is the end of our first division round preview with the Bills against Ravens. Of course, first of all, thank you, Shane. Thank you, Charlie, for coming on.
No worries, but anytime.
Anytime. Thanks, Andy.
Great stuff. And of course, if you haven't already followed Bills from afar, do check out Charlie's work on there, and also check out Shane work on the Third and Long podcast. In the meantime, this has been the Bills against Ravens divisional round preview, which, as ever, your host Andy Davis, with today Charlie and Shane, and we'll see you guys for our next divisional round game preview. Take care.